Earlier in the year, I was working on chapter 1 and chapter 2. Currently, I'm working on chapter 3, so I've been writing my story since the beginning of the year. Chapter 3 begins with a flashback. At the beginning, I thought the chapter would be easy because I knew what to write. However, I ran into many struggles and obstacles. It wasn't something I decided to do when I finished chapter 2, but I believe it will be beneficial for the story. Now, even with the difficult beginning and challenging middle, I managed to finish chapter 3. While writing the final part of chapter 2, an idea formed in my head. I thought about starting the next chapter with a flashback as I believed it would be a good addition to the story and give an insight to two characters. It was the beginning of the chapter. I stared at the blank page for hours and I couldn't start. I knew which characters were involved and what time it took place. It was hours ago since I was supposed to start the chapter. I took so many breaks and returned to a blank page. I thought to myself about what to write and the many ways to write it. I didn't think it would be challenging. Maybe it wasn't, but I was making it more difficult. I had so many ways to start the chapter in my head: intriguing hook, the middle of a conflict, dialogue, maybe with the scenery or a sense, or something else. I couldn't think about how to start forever. I wrote the first couple words, then deleted them. I wrote again, the page was beginning to fill with words. Everything was forming together. I was enjoying it. Then I deleted it as the page was blank again. Instead of staring at the blank page for hours again, I went to my planning board. I wrote out my ideas and expanded on those ideas. But I didn't only do it for chapter 3, I also did it for chapter 4. Things like characters, goals, stakes, conflict, progress of the chapter. I wanted to make sure the next time I opened the page, the chapter begins. I was disappointed in myself. I was wasting so much time thinking instead of writing. So after a couple of days, I opened up the page. I didn't think about anything outside the story or about what I was writing for too long. All that mattered was that the story made sense. I could always go back and correct my mistakes. I was lost in my story and I had no sign of stopping. While in the flow of writing, I was able to not only begin chapter 3, but finish it as well. Also, while writing the chapter, I went back to chapter 1 and chapter 2. After writing the beginning and the middle of chapter 3, my mind came up with an idea for chapter 1. While I obviously can't make it perfect, I went back to work on the narrative and to make characters more consistent. And I believe the things I added impacted the story. I'm happy with the changes I made in chapter 1, but I also went to the final part of chapter 2. It was for the same thing, but I would say it's specifically for a character. But once I was writing chapter 3, I found a voice for the character, so that was pretty much the reason why I went back to chapter 2. And also to make sure the story made sense. I may not have written X amount of words, as there were days where I wrote a lot of words, some days not a lot, and other days nothing. And after I came back from chapter 1 and 2, I eventually finished chapter 3. The small journey to finishing chapter 3 wasn't as difficult as the beginning and the middle. I didn't want to drag out the chapter for too long with unnecessary things, as I did in the first draft. I added unnecessary scenes and just dragged them out for, I don't know. Well, I know it was because I set a non-existing goal for myself. Like, I wanted each chapter to fit a certain word count. So if it didn't meet that word count, I would just add more and more until that word count was met. Even though I didn't necessarily, it wasn't like a direct goal. It was more, it was there, but I didn't consciously think about it. That was one thing that was holding me back during the first draft. So once I removed that, I was able to write without feeling bad about not meeting this goal. Chapter 3 and 4 are the shortest chapters, And because of that, I thought it would be easy. I thought it would go smoothly, but it was the opposite. It was one of the most challenging chapters. Two characters with a very interesting dynamic between the two. The reason why I lean more to chapter 3 being difficult than chapter 4 is because chapter 4, it's a different perspective than we had for the first 3 chapters. It's, of course, a different setting, and I feel like I could do more with what I'm given. It gives a more understanding of the dynamics between the two main characters, also giving a clear view of both characters' goals. Tension is growing, and the shift is quietly happening. So it may not be as big as chapter 1 and chapter 2 with the stuff that going on in those chapters. It's still part of the story, and I did have thoughts of removing chapter 3, but it does provide the setup and the narrative for the volume and further on. It's one of those chapters where me as the author, I have to it really tests what I'm capable of. But overall, chapter 3, I'm happy with how it started and how it ended. Of course, there are things that I can improve, but overall, I'm happy. Looking back at everything, I was in my head a lot. I was so consumed with the thoughts of beginning chapter 3 that I went back to my planning board not only to outline chapter 3, also chapter 4. I noticed it in real time how I tend to overwhelm myself with certain things, and once I wrote without thinking about it, and once I got to the middle of chapter 3, I didn't know what to write, so I went back to the previous chapters, made the improvements there, then I came back to chapter 3 and finished it. Also, I'll say there's a level of perfectionism, as I understand I can't be perfect, but overthinking can have good and a bad. So it's something for me to recognize. Writing chapter 3 took longer than expected. It took months. There were some days in those months I didn't write as much. I was in my head and overthinking too much, which caused me to indirectly try to do the perfect thing. Writing has really opened my eyes, and I'm not the best at it. Punctuation is horrible, grammar isn't there. I will get better. As the time's go on and the more I write, I will get better. This journey is something special, and I never knew after years of writing I would still be doing it. I thought I would have given up or outgrown this, but I'm still writing. It's surprising to me. There are a lot of things I can look back on when it comes to writing chapter 3 specifically, as I did give into the mental block of everything and procrastination, but recognizing these would help me become the writer I want to be. I can make countless excuses, but it all comes down to me. I'm the one who wants to actually do this. No one is forcing me to do this, which is why I see no point in making excuses. I'm the reason it took so long, but hopefully I can actually be consistent, do better, which all falls down to me. What I'll be doing next is starting chapter 4, which is which begins with another flash. I'm kind of intrigued for this one. I'm interested. I really want to see what I'm capable of doing, because this is a different perspective and it's a different character, and I'm excited to see what I can do. Usually this is supposed to be a week by week thing, but I missed it each time. I'll do my best to release a video week by week. So the next one will be about the beginning of chapter 4, the struggles and how I overcame them, etc. This channel was created to show my writing journey, but I never spoke about only the things around it. I said it before, but I'll do my best to get a video out next week. Also, if anyone is watching, leave a like, and whilst you're down there, subscribe. The journey may not look like anything, but the only promise I can make, or the only promise I will make, is it will eventually be something. It may not happen now, may not happen tomorrow, may not happen this year or next year, but eventually it will be something. That's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.